And now, let's return to Corporate Talk with Charlie and Eva on TalkZone.com.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Charlie Labasco, and with our guests, Bonnie and Thomas Lyotta, authors of A Simple Way to Guide Children and Teenagers to Happiness, Success, and Gratitude. And they're also the creators of the CCFL Home Study System. And you can learn more about Bonnie and Thomas right now by listening, of course, but also following along at www.creatingchampionsforlife.com. So, guys, I want to just say first that when we met, my first impression was the grounded ownership of the content that you're presenting. I mean, it just seems like you believe in what you're doing so much. And it was that revelation that I got, which made me feel this had to be shared.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
So that was good. And, we've been thinking about you guys and learning a lot. And what you were saying right before the break is interesting. And you gotta love Thomas as well by offering options in your questions, right? And I say that not as a parent, but as a corporate person in a meeting, trying to negotiate a timeline or trying to find out what can be done by the end of the day.
Well, and what I like about it, because, you're a parent, you have two daughters. I'm not a parent, I'm a step parent, right? But they're already grown up, so it doesn't count. But what I like is when he gave your son the choice, it was only two choices. It was either now or in 10 minutes. It wasn't like sometimes you hear these parents are like, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? Do you want that? It's almost like mind blowing, right? When there's so many choices. It's like you can either do this or you could do that. Makes a lot of sense to me. And do you think that's the key is like keeping those choices limited, I would think?
Well, yeah, the key is to understand that our children see the world completely different than we do. We have an adult brain, and the children have a child brain, and Tom can talk a little bit more about what that means. But the children don't understand when you get mad at them or when you yell at them or when you nag them. They don't understand abstract thinking even until they're at least the age of 13. So when you say, like, what do you want to have for dinner tonight? They're going to think of the only things that they can think of, which is ice cream, craft dinner, pizza, hamburger. They're not going to go,
pasta with butter.
No, Mom, I'm fine. Feed me nutrition because I'm growing and I need to be healthy. They're not going to give you those answers. So that's the point of making parent-approved decisions and then offering just a couple choices, exactly like you said.
I love that. I like parent-approved decisions, and I also like what you said just makes so much sense, right? But I see sometimes, parents are just so frazzled. They'll say, what do you want? And you're absolutely right. The kids the child is just going to say, whatever they like, pizza, burgers, ice cream. So that's perfect. And I know one of your techniques is, and one of Thomas's techniques is to never say no. And when I first read that, I thought, well, how does that work? Isn't saying no sometimes a good thing? Because if you say yes to everything, aren't you creating an entitled child that has no limits? But I know that that's not what you guys advocate. So when you talk about never saying no, what is it exactly that you mean by that?
Well, thank you, one, very much for having us on the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege and honor. And when you take that question of never say no, well, it's like a double negative, so let's go into always say yes. And one of the key things that when a child says something or shares something or is showing interest in something, wouldn't it be awful to think like somebody said, no, can't do, that won't work, and they'll give you a reason why it doesn't work? You feel really bad. It's not a matter of giving them everything, like automatically they demand it, you give it to them. Mm-hmm. But you take the time to actually acknowledge what it was that was their interest. And that's what's so key to always saying yes versus automatically saying no.
That's really interesting. Can you maybe provide an example of that?
Absolutely. If a child was to say, I want a bike. Now, let's say the bike is $500. They don't really understand money yet. They're between the ages of 5 to 10. They don't understand that you had to put in 14 hours of overtime to even, like, put up a down payment, right? They don't get those concepts. And you were to say, yeah, sorry, we just can't really afford that. Now, if I'm like you or you're like me, look at the child's face. They're going to feel, I'm not worthy, the other kids are better than me, I did something wrong. On some level, it's a negative feeling. Even though the parent is saying it as sweet and as nice as they could possibly explain to understand it, but if they were to say, wow, I would love for you to have a bike, and then they start to go into inquisitive type of questions like, what kind of color would it be? Did you see a bike? Who do you know has a bike? What is it about a bike that you like? And the child gets a chance to share their exploration. They get a chance to share their story. They get to share what is so important to them, and you took the moment to give them 30 seconds to maybe 5 minutes of hearing and validating, and it might have been that they just wanted to tell you about a bike, but they really didn't want one. And here's an example of what happened with one of the dads. He was a part-time dad, right, because they're separated. So he saw him on just weekends once a month or twice every month. And he goes, hey, and his son was like, I want to go paintballing, or I like paintballing. That's what the dad asked him. You want to do something fun? He goes, yeah, I like paintballing. So immediately the dad went out and spent $1,000 on paint, equipment, paint, balls, you name the whole thing, and they went out and did it paintballing. And then when they're all done and they went to go possibly say, hey, you want to do paintballing again? Yeah, not really. And the dad's kind of confused. And so if the dad would have asked, well, what is it about paintballing that you like? And he could have said, well, it's really neat. I love watching it on TV because when you're on TV, you don't get hit and it hurts. But I love to watch it because they got the obstacle course and they can see how the teams, you get a bird's eye view, and it's so much awesome to watch. And then when they're done, I don't have to, like, clean up and get a mess and all these other things. And the dad would have went, if I would have just approached it then, I could have put $1,000 in my child's college fund versus wasting the money and then getting upset because I spent all this money and they misinterpreted what it was. Just by the approach, not only is it economical, but it's also relational, where it can build stronger versus the opposite.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good, and you can see the skill, and it's a double skill, right? Because they're both coaches.
Right.
Right. So it's like
the kids never stood a chance.
Right. The success is almost guaranteed.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this is really good. I have a question. So, I guess what I'm learning here, and I get to cheat, guys, because I apply this in the workplace because I think it's so true. So now when I'm collaborating with others, I'm going to approach them in this manner. Instead of being the no, I'm going to be the yes. Right, the positive. So, but, and it speaks to a little bit about what Bonnie was saying earlier as well. And if a child is angry and they may not be saying what they want, but you could see it in their demeanor, would that be another opportunity to try to reverse the negative in a positive way? I mean, how would you deal with, for lack of a better terms, anger in a child?
That is a great question. I'm so glad that you brought it up because I wanted to make the point that the majority of parenting experts or even self-help coaches will teach you how to deal with the poor behavior, how to deal with the anger, how to deal with the temper tantrum. And what we're saying is to go before the anger, and I'll let Tom answer how to deal with an angry child, but I want to really make this point clear. The Bible says people without vision perish. We know this in our business lives. We know this in many areas of our lives, but somehow when we take it to our family life, we're very reactive. So 90% of the time, families are reacting to poor behavior, reacting to angry children, where if they just learned how to have a vision and create proactive plans, there would be no question. It would just be, let's look at our wall and let's look at the plan and let's look at what we do. And little Timmy decides to have a temper tantrum. Oh, it's right there. Little Timmy's choosing to go hang out in his room for a few minutes or whatever to chill out. It's not a punishment. It's a proactive, agree upon plan in advance So you always know what to do when the child is angry. But I'd also like Thomas to comment on that as well.
Wait, before that, and we want to hear it too. We're looking at each other with like this smirk, like, duh, it's like perfect.
It is perfect.
Right? We love that. That was a great answer.
Yeah, that really was.
So Thomas, can you just keep going with that?
Oh, yes, sir. It'd be my privilege and honor. Thank you. The key here is go to a customer service department, and your child is basically coming to you as a customer service department. You're the person in charge. And they're actually asking, I don't know how to do something. Can you teach me? But they don't know how to ask it correctly yet. Or they're basically figured out that, hey, if I whine, condemn, complain enough, somebody will do it for me because I'm used to people reinforcing my lazy behavior. And so when it really comes down to anger, why would you get angry? Well, if you went to a customer service department and said, look, this product doesn't work, I don't know what to do, fix it, and they're like, I'm sorry, I don't do that. Or that's not, you have to talk to somebody else about it. Well, of course somebody's going to get angry. It's the next elevation of, listen, you're not hearing me. Do I need to say it? Because obviously you're deaf. That's why I need to yell louder. And so the child is just going through the exact same thing. That if I'm like you and you're like me, we would do the exact same thing. But if somebody were to take the moment and acknowledge what it is that they're angry about, well, what is it that you're angry about? What is it that you're looking to do that's not working yet? Because, see, a parent has a role in their child's life. One is to teach them a set of life skills. If a child could do it on their own, they would have. Like, go to the bathroom or get a glass of water. They want one, they know that life skill, how to get a cup and drink. If they don't know how, it's up to us to teach them. Wow, they're angry because they don't know how to do it. I need to look at it from not a reactionary point of view, but like behavior, but an educational point of view. Did I really not take the time to teach them how to actually fill up a cup? So there's a life skill. Once I taught them, I need to do my job. And the second part is, oh my gosh, maybe this child has never learned a simple game of opposite. Here's an obstacle. What's the difference of can't? Well, the opposite of can't is can. Maybe they've never learned the attitude of gratitude to go, if it is to be, it's up to me. I can turn obstacles into opportunities. It's a life skill that this has to be taught. What can't work, well, what can work? And when you have that mindset, you empower the child to go from whining, it doesn't work, and start throwing things and hucking things because out of frustration to going, what is it that I got to do different? What's the different approach? Change the cause, I can create a different effect. And that truly is that kind of like the aha moment of, can it really be that simple? And the answer is, yes, it is.
Jeez. Great job, guys. And I can really see the collaboration, right, between the planning from, let's say, and I don't know, Bonnie's background in corporate or working, and Thomas's in terms of being positive and grounded at all times. It's just an incredible combination. So we have to take our second break, but we have some really great questions when we come back. So please stay with us. We have a lot more to talk about. This is Corporate Talk with Charlie and Eva. We'll be right back.